You awaken to the stench of piss-soaked straw, iron, and sweat, the kind of sweat that has long since stopped smelling human. Your body hurts before you even open your eyes. You have bruises on top of bruises, and your ribs hurt from last week's drill when you could NT block the wooden gladius in time. A rat runs by your face. Another day in the ludus. Another day of not dying yet. You are 15 years old. You have NT seen your mother since the day Roman soldiers took you away from your village in Thrace. One yelled as they cut his father's throat. When they nailed his brother to the cart for not obeying, one cried. You just looked. You couldn't open your mouth. It doesn't yet, unless your trainer, the Lannister, says so. And even then, you only talk to avoid the whip. Here, on the training grounds, it doesn't matter who you used to be. People don't just become gladiators. They have to be broken into them. And you, like the others, were just unlucky enough to live through the capture. The sun comes up, but it doesn't warm up. Just one more step toward the day you die, if you're lucky. The real horror is staying alive. Death is a mercy for gladiators. Living means getting hurt over and over again to make fat Romans laugh while they scream for your death. Get up, dogs! Shouts Gaius, your Lannister. His voice is like sand rubbed into an open wound, full of cruelty. You can't fight if you can't stand. You'll be fed to the pigs if you can't fight. You rush to your feet. The Gauls, Germans, Carthaginians, and a few Romans who messed up so badly that the courts decided steel and sand were better than the cross all do. A few still dream of glory and winning their freedom. Idiots. The crowd decides who lives. People are fickle, though. You walk into the training yard, where blood has dried into the ground like dark veins. Gaius gives out weapons while the sun beats down on them like a hammer. You get a gladius today. It could be a trident tomorrow. Or not at all. The drill starts. Step. Cut. Block. Step. Push. Once more. And once more. Until your arms shake. Until your calves start to hurt. Until your knees almost give out. Then you do it again. Slower than my dead grandmother. Gaius yells. A whip cracks next to your ear. You go faster. Time goes by. The drills all look the same. You can't tell if the blood on your hand is yours or someone else's. When a Gaul with a broken jaw falls next to you, no one helps him. Gaius doesn't stop. This isn't brotherly love. This is how to stay alive. You keep going. You get a bowl of barley mash and half a cup of sour wine by nightfall. You eat in silence because you're too tired to talk. The Roman thief who became a gladiator next to you stares at his scars and mutters numbers to himself. You think he is keeping track of the days since he last saw the sun without blood on his face. The night comes. The doors to the cells close. There are no blankets or pillows. Only stone and straw. You lie down, and the pain makes your body shake. You close your eyes and hope for dreams, but all you see are memories of the men you've already killed. Their eyes watch you as you sleep, and then it starts all over again. But that's just practice. The real fear is in the arena. The Colosseum, which is what they call the Flavian Amphitheater now, is a huge building made of stone and cruelty. 50,000 people, all screaming for blood. They say it's a sport. They dress you up in armor that isn't meant to protect you, but to impress you. They call you an entertainer. To shine as you die. You see a man get his face cut in half by a Sparta before you even step on the sand on your first day in the arena. His body shakes. The crowd cheers. You wonder if the roar will get louder when it's your turn. Your opponent is a Mamillo, which means they are an experienced fighter. He has broad shoulders and a fish-like crest on his helmet. He's the kind of guy who has either killed a dozen like you or wants to. The fight isn't fair. It's not supposed to be. It's a test to see if you scream loud enough, die in an interesting way, and bleed in a colorful way. You lift your shield. Your arms are shaking. The trumpet sounds, and he charges. And all you can do is hope that the gods are too bored to take you today. The Colosseum towers over you like a living thing, its arches opening wide like the mouths of an old god. The crowd's roar makes the ground under your sandals shake. Thousands of voices come together to make one animal sound, screaming for a show. You stand behind the iron gate, shoulder to shoulder with other men who have been sentenced to dance on the edge of a sword for the entertainment of Rome. You polish your armor not to protect yourself, but to show off. It glints in the sun to catch the eye of people on the upper tiers. The helmet they gave you is heavy, and the crest on top is more for looks than for use. It makes it harder for you to see, breathe, and stay alive. When the gates creak open, the light pours in like punishment from God. There are already dark spots on the sand where yesterday's show left its mark. You move forward because being unsure is a sign of weakness, and weakness means death. People in the crowd don't care who you are. They don't care that you used to be a son, a brother, or a farmer with dreams. They see you as nothing more than a character in a bloody play, and your only job is to die well. Your opponent, a Mamillo, stands across the arena. He is bigger than you, older, and has been killing for years. His armor shines with pride. You can't see his face because of the visor, but you can feel his eyes on you like hot coals. He has lived longer than most people, not because he is lucky, but because he is cruel and careful. You hold on to your gladius tighter, even though your hands are sweaty. There are no introductions or warnings. The fight starts with the sound of a horn. He goes first, and even though he's big, he moves quickly. You barely block the blow, which shakes your whole body. The crowd screams. They like the underdog, but only if he dies bravely. You move to the side, remembering your training, and Gaius shouts, "Strike low, shield high, aim for the exposed thigh." You get a small cut on his leg, but it costs you. His shield hits your ribs with a lot of force, knocking the air out of your lungs. You stumble and the world spins. Then he kicks you in the knee, which sends you crashing to the ground. From the ground, you can hear everything more clearly: the footsteps, the cheers, and the grunts of your opponent as he circles you like a wolf about to attack. You get up quickly, gasping, knowing that the fight won't stop for your pain. He swings again. You duck, just barely. Your counterattack is crazy and desperate, and it works, a gash across his forearm. The blood is real. The crowd yells louder. They chant now, wanting to die. It might be his, or yours. The fight goes on, measured by breaths, wounds, and willpower. You finally hit him in the right spot and knock his helmet off. For a moment, you can see his face. It's grim, sweaty, and his eyes are burning with anger and something else. Fear. He knows he might lose. And you do too. It doesn't change anything. He attacks, and you fight back with everything you have. Your blade goes through his armor and into his belly. He falls with a grunt that sounds more human than you thought it would. Be quiet. Then there was a loud bang that echoed through the stone arches like thunder. You stand there, shaking, with blood on your hands and a weapon at your side. You look up at the Emperor, who is sitting above everyone else. He lifts his hand slowly and carefully. The thumb is in the air. This is the time when legends are born or die. You know the stories. A downward thumb gives mercy to fighters and lets them live another day. But mercy and Rome are both fickle. The Emperor's thumb is pointing down. The crowd shouts in agreement. You raise your sword again and do what you have to do. You kill. You go back to your cell after the bodies are pulled off the sand and the blood is raked into shallow graves under the arena floor. You made it through. But just because you live doesn't mean you win. It means you will have to do it again. And once more. One day, you'll be lying in the sand with your mouth open in a scream that never reaches your lips. Your eyes will be blankly staring up at the sky you never got to touch. There is no freedom here. Even the people who win it have scars that are too deep to heal. Those who live become valuable items that are rented out to festivals, shown off to nobles, given women they can't love, and coins they can't spend. You see them sometimes, veterans with 1,000-yard stares, hands twitching at invisible swords, and backs bent from old wounds. They drink to get to sleep. They sleep to forget things. But nothing dulls the edge for good. And those are the ones who are lucky. The days blend together like blood on wet sand. Each one is the same as the last, full of drills, pain, and the constant, suffocating presence of death. You stop asking for time. The seasons change, but they don't matter inside the ludus walls. No matter what the weather is like, your routine never changes. You wake up, train, fight, and hope, but hope itself is starting to feel like something you can't afford anymore. Injuries don't heal like they used to. Scars build up on top of each other. Every time you swing the gladius too hard, a break in your forearm opens up again. When you lift your shoulder, it pops. You wrap it up in pieces of cloth and act like it doesn't matter. If the Lannister finds out, he will take you off the list. And being pulled means being thrown away. The food never gets better. The barley mash is always a grey lump in your bowl, and the wine always tastes like vinegar that has gone bad. They sometimes add a strip of salted meat, but not out of kindness. It's because lean gladiators don't last long. You don't own your body anymore. It is their money. Rome's need for entertainment costs you your flesh. You are cared for like a warhorse, fed just enough to stay strong, trained just enough to stay fast, and praised just enough to keep from breaking. Sometimes, between matches, you go to smaller towns to see less important games. The crowds are drunker, the arena floors are rougher, and the deaths aren't as poetic. There is no ceremony in these areas. You are put in with wild animals, criminals, soldiers who have been sentenced to death, and men with crazy eyes. The matches are shorter, meaner, and more improvised. A man once ran at you with a sharp spoon. Before you drove your knife through his neck, another bit your ear off. There is no one there who will remember your name. All you can see is a blur of shouting, coin passing, and bloody sand. On one of these trips, you ride in a caged cart through the countryside, bumping along olive groves and dry hills. The air is cleaner here than in the city. For a moment, the wind smells like freedom. You can see peasants working the land, barefoot and poor, but not chained. You want what they have. They own themselves even when they are sad. One of them looks at your cart, meets your eyes, and then quickly looks away. They don't see you as a man. You are a sign, a reminder of what Rome does to people it hurts. Back at the Colosseum, everything is bigger, louder, and more brutal in a more refined way. There is a lot of planning that goes into the games. You can choose from themes like naval battles, reenactments of myths, or executions that look like the punishments of old gods. Depending on what story the arena needs to tell, you dress up as Theseus, Hector, or a nameless barbarian. You wear masks that make it hard to breathe and carry things that are NT meant to keep you safe. The point isn't to fight. The point is to act. And at the end of every show, someone dies. One day, they bring in a huge, snarling lion from Africa. 10 men pull it in chains. You are the one who gets to do the last act. Not because you are the strongest, but because people have started to recognize you. They want to see how you do. You get a spear and a small shield. The lion is very hungry. The doors open, and Rome is watching. You don't think. You go. The lion charges, and it happens faster than you think. You barely miss, and the creature's breath is hot against your skin. Your spear hits its side, but it doesn't slow down. It swipes, and you feel the gash cut through your thigh. Pain comes in waves, white and burning, but you don't fall. You limp, go in circles, and jab again. This time it yells. There is blood all over the sand. It lunges one last time, and you stab it in the throat with the spear. The roar ends with a wet gurgle. The people stand up. People are clapping all around you. You fall down, not in victory, but from being tired. You wake up in the hospital. A medicus is sewing up your leg without giving you any pain medicine. He doesn't talk to you. You are just another body to fix and another tool to use again. You clench your teeth and let him do his job. Later, when you walk back to your cell with a limp, the other gladiators slap your back, nod in respect, and say your name. You are now somewhat of a legend. But you don't feel anything. You still see the lion's eyes. It didn't want to fight. You didn't either. If you can call it that, fame starts to follow you around like a shadow. People whisper behind your back in the halls of the Ludus, the boy who killed the lion, the ghost-eyed Thracian, and the one who won't die. Trainers nod in agreement. New recruits are told to pay attention to how you fight. You get a little better food, a little more wine, and your wounds are dressed faster than before. But the benefits don't matter. They are not acts of kindness. They are ways to keep things safe. You have become valuable, a spectacle that draws crowds, a commodity worth preserving, not for your sake, but for the coin you generate with every drop of blood you spill. And with this strange rise comes something worse than getting hurt: attention. Rome starts to recognize your name. Not your real one, that was left in a burning village years ago, but the name the arena gave you. They call you Aquila, which means eagle, but no one ever tells you why. Maybe it's how you stay alive, flying around death with wings made of instinct and need. Or maybe it's just another mean joke. You don't fly. You can barely crawl between fights. But in the arena, names have power, and yours starts to echo in the taverns, baths, and the mouths of patricians who are drunk on wine and boredom. One day, you are called to a private villa and taken there in a cart that smells like horse sweat and rosewater. A noble woman watches you from behind a silk curtain while her steward tells you how much she loves you. your grace, your calmness, and the poetry in your killing. She talks about art like it's something else. She gives you a heavy emerald ring and tells you to wear it the next time you fight. It will show that she is supporting her. You bow because that's what you're supposed to do. But your stomach hurts. She doesn't see you as a man. You are an unusual creature that she can show off to her guests and talk about while they drink honeyed wine. The older fighters shake their heads when they get back to the ludus. They tell you that the closer you get to the elite, the more dangerous the fall will be. Some of them used to have patrons, too. These were fickle aristocrats who treated their lives like dice in a gambling den. The protection stopped when their fun did. A single change in favor in the arena can mean the difference between a duel and a death sentence. You don't want to think about it. You go back to training. You fight until your muscles hurt and your vision gets blurry. You learn to breathe through pain. You learn to sleep lightly, wake up quickly, and eat fast enough to get to seconds before the others. In the baths, though, you can really relax. The steam loosens your joints, and the quiet drowns out the screams that are still in your head. The medicus sometimes walks by and says how well your body has healed. You nod, but you know that the inside of you is rotting, with memories turning into anger and exhaustion becoming a second skin. Then the news comes. There will be a big festival to celebrate a generaless victory in the east. Over the course of 3 days, 100 gladiators will fight. The emperor will be there. Senators, nobles, and foreign diplomats will also be there. It will be the most extravagant show the city has seen in 10 years. Of course, you're on the list. Not for the first few fights. Not for the killings or the animal hunts. You are saved for the last act, which is a duel to the death with one of Rome's most famous champions. Cassian is his name. He is older now, but he is still deadly. A murmillo of iron discipline and cold rage. If the stories are true, he has killed men with one blow, disarmed opponents with a flick of the wrist, and even gutted lions, bears, and a rhino once. People say he once turned down freedom when it was offered to him, saying that life outside the arena had no meaning. You will play him in the last game. The crowd will want a lot of violence. The emperor will want a great work of death. The days before it, the ludus quiets down around you. The other gladiators start to look at you differently, not with jealousy, but with distance, as if you're already walking to a grave and they don't want to follow you. The lanista doesn't look you in the eye. The old trainer Gaius gives you some rare advice. Kill fast or die slow. You nod. You get it. This match will either kill you or make your name famous in the stone walls of the Colosseum. You can't sleep the night before the festival. You lie awake on the cold stone, looking at nothing with your eyes open. You remember how your mother's hands brushed dirt off your cheek. You remember how your brother laughed. You think about the lion's eyes. You wonder if Cassian has dreams, too. Or maybe the great killers of Rome have already run out of things to scare them. The sun slowly rises over Rome, lighting up both the marble roofs and the blood-stained stone with golden fire. Trumpets sound like war cries all over the city, and people pour into the streets in waves. Merchants are selling bread and meat pies, slaves are leading noble families to their seats, and jugglers and dancers are spinning in the dust to the beat of drums. But none of that matters inside the Colosseum. Not for you. You are kneeling in a cell carved deep into the arena's belly. The stone walls are wet with the sweat and fear of 100 men who have forgotten their names and knelt here before you. Your armor has been put on. Your gladius got sharper. Your body was polished like a weapon for show. You can hear the crowd above you humming low, getting louder and heavier, as if the air itself is being crushed under its weight. The gate in front of you is still closed, with iron teeth ready to bite. The arena is beyond it, with the sun shining on it and the sand flattened by the feet of those who fought there before. You could hear their screams echoing through the hallways, one man's death gurgling, another man's desperate plea for mercy. And then the crowd's response, cheers, jeers, and laughter. You picture Cassian at the far end of the arena, his armor shining like a polished tombstone. He is a remnant of the old games, a warrior made from the bones of Rome. They say he can't be killed. People say he fought 5 men at once and left their intestines on the sand. But you're not scared. Not anymore. You're too tired to be scared. Too scarred by years of violence to feel anything but grim determination. When the guards call, you get up. Your joints are stiff and your legs are steady. One of them gives you your helmet. Another person spits on the ground and says a blessing or a curse, but you can't tell which. Putting on the helmet seals you in iron and darkness. The world becomes a narrow slit of light and the sound of your own heart beating. The gate goes up. The sound hits you like a wave. As you step onto the sand, 50,000 voices fill the air. You don't look at them. You know better than to. The crowd is one beast, a thing with 1,000 mouths and no soul. They don't care about you. They care about how well you die. As you walk forward, each step feels heavier than the last. You see Cassian standing still in the center, as if he has been waiting for you for years. His helm has the shape of a sea creature on it, and his plume trails behind him like a whip. He wears the thick, ridged armor of the Mamillo. His shield is huge and covered in scars from battles long ago. His sword rests loosely in his hand, as if it belongs there more than his own fingers. He tilts his head and looks at you through his visor when you stop a few steps away. You don't say anything. There is nothing to say. A herald stands on a raised platform and reads from a scroll. He talks about your names, your records, your wins, and the number of people you killed. When he calls you Aquila the Unbroken, the crowd cheers. They roar for Cassian like he's a god. The emperor rises high above, arm outstretched, signaling the start of the last act. A horn sounds. A break. A breath. Then everything goes up in flames. Cassian makes the first move, and it's quick and brutal. His shield hits yours with the force of a battering ram, making you stagger back. His sword swings through the air where your neck was a second ago. You duck, turn, and hit back. Your gladiator scrapes against his side but only hits metal. He hits you in the ribs with his knee, which knocks the wind out of your chest. Pain grows, white and sharp, but you stay where you are. The crowd screams with joy. You get better, fake low, and then lunge for his shoulder, which is open. He deflects and swings his sword down in a punishing arc that hits your helmet and sends sparks flying. Your ears are ringing. There is blood running down your neck. You back away, going in circles, and make yourself breathe. He watches, calm and calculating. His strikes are not random. They work well. Exact. Each one was meant to kill you. But you are quicker, more hungry, desperate. You trick him into charging, then you sidestep and slice his thigh. Sprays of blood. A wound, even though it's not very deep. The crowd sees it and screams. Cassian grunts, but his mask still covers his face. You can see how he changes his stance, out of respect and to get back on track. You are not new anymore. You are a danger. The fight goes on, lasting for minutes that seem like forever. Hit for hit. Cut for cut. Your bodies turn into moving monuments to violence and tiredness. The sand is slick with blood. Your blood, his blood, it doesn't matter anymore. There is no pain, just movement. No fear, just instinct. Next comes the opening. Cassian goes too far, which is a rare mistake. You see it, a half-second pause, a wrong angle, and you hit. Your sword goes deep into his side, under the edge of his cuirass, and into his flesh. He trips, drops his shield, and his sword clangs to the ground. He goes down on one knee. Like a curtain, silence falls. You stand over him with your gladius raised, your chest heaving, and your vision blurred by blood and sweat. The crowd is breathless as they watch. The emperor leans in. Cassian looks up at you with dark eyes and a pale face. He doesn't have any fear. Just give up. He gives a nod. You wait for the sign. The emperor's hand goes up. Then the thumb goes down. Your hand does not stop. It can't. At that moment, your body is no longer your mind. It is a vessel for the will of the crowd and the command of power. Your gladius goes down and hits Cassian's chest with a sickening crack. His body jerks once and then falls. Blood oozes out around the blade like black ink on parchment. His shield falls from his hands and hits the sand with a loud thud. The noise from the Colosseum is so loud that it seems to shake the sky. They say your name. They yell for you. They love you more than ever now. But you don't feel anything. You step back from the body, breathing heavily and staring at the man you just killed. He was a hero, a survivor, and a symbol. And now he's just a pile of meat on the floor of the arena. You thought it would feel like winning. It feels like silence instead, as if something inside you has broken. It slowly sinks in that there is no glory here, just a different kind of defeat. The attendants hurry in to pull Cassian's body away. Slaves use long, careful strokes to rake the blooded sand, erasing the last moment of his life. The illusion must stay alive. The theater needs to be reset. You are still standing in the middle, looking at the empty space where he used to be. You are told to lift your arms. You do. The crowd cheers again, but it sounds far away, like it's coming from a long tunnel. You feel cold when their happiness washes over you. Later, the nobles find you in the dark halls under the arena. They gather around like vultures, wrapped in silk and drunk on power and perfume, and offer praise with fake smiles. One of them, a senator with powdered skin and jeweled fingers, puts a laurel crown on your head. He says, "You are now Rome's son." That's its champion. You stare at him, your body still covered in sweat, dust, and someone else's blood. The laurel hurts your scalp. You agree. You don't say anything. The next day, you are shown off in the streets. A chariot slowly moves through the city, and your body is held up above the crowd like a trophy. People throw flowers and fruit. Kids yell your name. Women wave bits of cloth around. You keep your eyes on the road ahead, not moving. The city smells like oil, smoke, spices, and rotting things. You remember walking these streets with your head down and your wrists tied. Now they pray to you. But the chains are still there. They're just polished and hard to see. Things change back at the ludus. You are no longer part of the routine. You are alone in your own cell, which is a little bigger and warmer than the others. You eat better. The guards talk to you with some respect. The lanista even talks to you differently, like a man who is careful not to hurt an investment that has become too valuable. You are given women, wine, and all the other shallow pleasures that are meant to keep you from feeling the emptiness inside you. You don't take any of it. You sit in your cell and look at the wall. The hours go by like wax. One night, someone brings you a scroll. It is an offer. Liberty. Your patron, one of the noble women who used to whisper behind veils, has asked the emperor for help. You won against Cassian, which means you get to live. You can leave the ludus. You can walk the streets as a free person. You can leave if you want to. But what would you be? You don't have a home. No name. No family. You can only speak the language of violence fluently now. Outside of these walls, the world is strange, far away, and not important. You look at the scroll. You don't touch it. Days go by. Then weeks. You don't fight again. Not in the arena. Not yet. Rome is waiting, whispering, and wondering what you will do. A door is barely open, but freedom is close at hand. The truth, though, weighs on your chest more than any armor. You are no longer made for peace. The arena did more than just work out your body. It changed the wiring of your soul. The door finally opens. Not to let you out, but to let another fighter in. A boy, not old enough to shave yet, with big eyes and a thin, shaky body. He is put in your old cell, the one you used to share with 3 other people. The guard tells you what his name is. You don't pay attention. You see the boy being marched to the training yard. His knees are shaking and he can't hold on to the wooden practice sword very well. Gaius yells at him, just like he used to yell at you. The boy jumps, just like you did. The other fighters laugh and circle like wolves. You look away. That night, the boy can't sleep. You can hear him crying through the walls. You don't cry with him. You haven't. You won't ever. You don't keep track of the weeks or months that go by. The days blend together into pale copies of each other, each one marked by the same rituals. Silence in the morning strangers whispering praise, empty promises of pleasure and privilege, and the same heavy air of expectation hanging over everything you do. The scroll that promises you freedom is still there, under the stone slab you sit on. Sometimes, a steward will ask if you've made up your mind. You nod in a way that makes it look like you're thinking about it. But there is no choice to make. The truth is eating away at you. You were never meant to leave. The sand has gotten too deep. People are talking about a new set of games that will be announced to celebrate the birth of an emperor. There is always a reason for blood in Rome. You aren't on the list of fighters this time, but they still bring you to the amphitheater and show you off as a guest of honor dressed in linen robes you didn't ask for and with your laurel crown polished and replaced. You sit in the lower tier next to senators and judges who toast your name with watered wine. Their fingers shine with rings you could never own. They want to know if the stories are true. Did you really kill the lion with just one blow? Did Cassian cry when he fell? Did you feel scared? You don't respond. They fill the silence with their own answers, making up a story about you. They don't see you as a person anymore. You are a living legend, a symbol of Rome's power, proof that savagery and discipline can live together in perfect, terrifying harmony. The next group of fighters is led out across the arena. Most of them are young, excited, not aware. One of them wears armor that is too big for him and trips as he runs to the center. People in the crowd are laughing. You don't. The fight is rough and easy to see coming. Within the first minute, one man has his guts ripped out. Another person falls and gets hit in the head with a mace. The winner is a tall Numidian with arms like braided rope. He lifts his sword to the crowd and stares at you for a long time. They shout. You nod once, which is the most respectful thing you can do. He makes you think of yourself a long time ago, before your heart hardened into a callus. You walk slowly past the cells at the ludus, looking at the new recruits. Some people are very careful when they sharpen their blades. Some people sleep in a pile of arms and legs, feeling warm because they are afraid of the same thing. One sits by himself and whispers prayers. One carves lines into the wall, counting the days like scratches on a wound. You don't say anything to them. You are now a ghost in this place, there but not reachable. Gaius comes to find you that night. He waits a long time before speaking, and when he finally does, his voice is softer than you've ever heard it. He tells you to go. You can do whatever you want. You look up at the man who used to whip you for making mistakes and made fun of your pain and spit on your wounds. You can't say when his face started to age, but it has. His eyes are red. There is nothing behind them. Why? You ask. Because you'll die here. Not in the ring. Not in a fight. Just slowly. From the inside out. You look him in the eye. He is not wrong. He is also wrong, though. In many ways, you've already died many times. On the beach. In the cells. In the screams you let out and the ones you held back. All that is left of you now is survival. You go to the bathhouse by yourself the next day. The steam rises in thick columns and wraps around your body like smoke. Scars on your skin are like a map of everything you've been through. Cuts, punctures, burns, and breaks. You look at them. Not with pride. Not even with sadness. Just a sense of wonder, like someone looking at something from a time that is long gone. You go under the water, and the heat hurts at first, then it goes numb. You close your eyes for a second and imagine that you are in a different place. In a quiet place. Somewhere before. But footsteps break the silence. The kid, the one they brought in a few weeks ago, is here. He slowly lowers himself into the water, looking at you and then away. He doesn't say anything. You don't either. Minutes go by. Then he asks, does it get easier? Without looking at you. The question hangs in the air like smoke. You think about all the men you have killed. The ones who asked. The people who didn't. You think about the lion's breath. Cassion's nod. Of the thumb that is always there. No, you say. He doesn't say anything. He just nods, like he already knew. Even after the boy leaves the bathhouse, his quiet acceptance stays with him. You are still alone in the steam, and the air is thick and still, as if the world is holding its breath around you. You wonder if anyone really believes in freedom, or if it is just a story people tell themselves to make the cage feel bigger. The scroll is still under your stone slab, untouched. It might as well be a myth, a secret dream shared by the doomed. You know what it means. You know every word by heart, but it doesn't mean anything anymore. The promise of freedom has never seemed so empty. Sleep doesn't come that night. Instead, memories come to you, pieces of a life that doesn't seem like it was yours. A dog is barking in a village far away. The sound of your mom singing while she ground wheat. The smell of rain falling on dry ground. You try to hold on to them and make them clear again, but they slip through your fingers like sand through a colander. What you have left are not moments, but impressions, memories of a time when you were more than a weapon. You walk to the edge of the training yard and stand under the open sky in the early hours, before the sun comes up. Stars are still there, faded but strong, like dying embers that won't go out. You think about how many of your brothers, fellow gladiators, have stood here before you, wondering the same things and facing the same choice. To leave, to disappear into the world as a former slave, a former killer, or stay in the only place where people know you, even if they don't understand you. The games go on the next day. You aren't supposed to fight, but the new editor, who is young, rich, and full of himself, has asked you to. He wants the eagle back, only for one game, just to give the crowd what they want, blood and memories. The Lannister says it's a match for show. No death, no danger, just a show of skill. You nod, don't say anything, and leave. But you know better. There is no such thing as a fight that is safe. They put you with someone who is new to the ludus. He was a big, brutish man with crude tattoos all over his body and a nose that was always crooked from an old injury. He is strong, but not very good at things. You could tell by the way he stood. He uses his muscles to fight, not his mind. If you had lived in a different time, you would have killed him in seconds. But this time, something is stopping you. The fight starts in a sky full of clouds. The crowd is smaller than usual, and the air is thick with excitement. You lift your shield, go around him, and hit him once, then twice, getting cheers with every move. He swings wildly. You are good at dodging, but with every second and every punch you don't throw, the noise of the crowd gets quieter in your ears. You know that they aren't really looking at you. They're seeing a memory, a ghost of the killer you used to be, the boy who killed Cassian, the monster who fought lions. The ghost was called Aquila. At that point, you make your choice. You let go of your shield. The other person stops, unsure. The crowd gasps. You put down your gladius, step back, and look at the editor's box. The man frowns and leans forward, making angry gestures. You don't say anything. You kneel in the sand and drive your sword into the ground, point down, with the hilt standing up like a tombstone. The arena is completely quiet. After that, you slowly get up and leave. You leave through the other gate, ignoring the shouts, whistles, and confused cries of the people watching. You leave behind the roar, the masks, and the myth. You walk for the first time in years not as a slave, a soldier, or a show, but as something more like a man. You go back to your cell that night. You take the scroll out from under the stone and roll it out. The seal is still intact, and the ink is still sharp. You take a deep breath and put your thumbprint in the empty space. You fold the parchment, give it to the steward without saying anything, and leave the ludus as the sky turns purple with dawn. You walk out of the gates in regular clothes. No armor, no guns, just your scars, your silence, and a heavy feeling that is both freeing and crushing. Rome goes on behind you, unaware and never-ending. You don't look back. The road out of Rome is dusty and loud, a long, shaky vein that leads to the edge of the world, which is still unknown. Alphabetically, you prince, wild, not from fighting, practicing, or performing, but from something deeper, the weight of direction. You are moving for the first time since you were captured, not because someone told you to, not because death was chasing you, but because your feet chose the way. And yet, deep down, you still expect a shout, a horn, or a command to pull you back. The silence feels dangerous when no one comes. Villages are scattered across the horizon like old scars on a body. You go through them without saying a word. People look up from their work, squint at your frame, and then put their heads down. They see a strange man who is thin and straight, walks like a soldier but doesn't say anything, and has eyes that are too tired for his age. A farmer gives you bread once. You nod, take it, and eat in the corner of his barn while his kids talk quietly in the dark. You hear the words Gladiator and Colosseum. Your name will live on after your body is gone. You want to forget about Rome, but it won't let you. Your scars, your silence, and the way you walk all show its mark. You sleep under an olive tree one night and dream about metal and sand. You wake up with your fists clenched, your breath shallow, and sweat on your forehead. You thought that leaving would free your mind from the cage. But all you've done is change the setting. The arena is still there in your mind. You finally get to a port town near the coast. It's hot and smells like fish, salt, and faraway places. You get a job moving crates in the early morning. The work is boring, but it's clean. No one sees you fight. Nobody cares if you bleed. You get paid in bread, coins, and silence. And for now, that's enough. You rent a corner of a widow's house, sleep on a straw mat, and wake up with the birds. You drink water from clay pots. You sweat through your shirt. You turn into a man that no one sees. But being unknown causes a different kind of pain. Outside the arena, the world isn't peaceful, it's apathetic. No one calls your name. No one bends down. No one cares how many people you killed. You are not strong anymore. People don't fear you anymore. You are nothing. And that is a cut you didn't see coming. You used to hate being in the spotlight. You feel invisible now that it's gone. You wonder which is worse, being a weapon or being unwanted. You hurt your shoulder one afternoon while loading amphory onto a ship. The pain is sharp and comes on right away, like old broken bones that never healed right. The boss tells you to go home and take a break. You do. And in that quiet, painful twilight, you find yourself holding a knife again. This time, though, it's not for battle. It's to peel a piece of fruit. Your hand is still shaking. The blade feels too real, too much like home. You look at it for a long time before putting it down. You don't go to the docks the next morning. You walk along the coast instead, kicking driftwood and shells with your boots. The sea looks like an invitation in front of you. There are places out there that Rome has never been to, people who have never heard your name, and forests that have never heard screams. You could go away. Really go away. But there is something that stops you. Not fear. Not a habit. Something less obvious. You knew that the arena would follow you wherever you went, even if you crossed the ocean, shaved your head, changed your name, and moved to the hills. In how you stand. Your breathing. Your hopes and dreams. You are more than just a survivor. You are something that was made. You were made in Rome, and Rome doesn't easily undo what it does. You go back to the town, then. But you don't go back to work. You sit in the square and look. See the old men fight over coins, the mothers wash their kids' feet, and the fishermen fix their nets. You hear the rhythm of lives that aren't based on violence. Every day, you start to realize something strange. Peace is not something you get. It is built, breath by breath, in tiny moments that go by without anyone noticing. One night, you see the boy. Not the same boy from the Ludus, but one who looks like him, barefoot, thin, and hungry. He's stealing bread from a market stall, and it's clear that he's doing it. The vendor sees him and raises his hand to hit him. You act before you think. Your arm stops the blow. The man steps back in shock when he sees your face. He doesn't say anything. You don't either. You give the boy the bread and then leave. He goes after you. He doesn't say anything at first. He just follows from a distance, being careful not to get too close but never too far away to be seen. You don't ask why. You don't send him away. He might remind you too much of how you used to be. Small, desperate, and half-wild with hunger. Or maybe you're just tired of being alone. You only give him room to sit next to you on the stone steps outside the widower's house. He takes it without saying anything and eats the bread slowly, as if it might disappear if he chews it too quickly. It's not weird that you two aren't talking. It's a secret deal. The boy stays for the next few days. He doesn't ask for things. He doesn't take things that don't belong to him. He is just there, half shadow and half reflection. He pays attention to how you work, how you act, and how you speak without saying much. He watches how you move like you used to watch Gaius' lashes and the way a veteran's blade swayed. You feel a strange ache as you realize that he sees something in you that you do NT believe is there anymore. Power. Reason. Living. You talk to him in the end. Just one question. What's your name? He stops for a moment, not sure if it's a test. Then, in a low voice, Silvanus. You agree. You tell him what you want. Not Aquila. Not the name they called you in the arena. Your real name. The one you haven't talked to in a long time. It sounds weird in your own mouth, delicate, like something from another world. But it belongs to you. Silvanus agrees. You both need to stop talking. You show him how to hold a knife. Not because he asks. Not because he wants to fight. But you know that boys who can't defend themselves don't get treated well in the world. You teach him how to hold on with strength but not stress. How to plant his feet like roots instead of letting them drift like leaves. You don't use words to correct him. You use gestures. He learns it quickly. Too fast. You see the same hunger you used to have. The need to be dangerous so the world can't hurt him again. But you also teach him other things. How to climb the olive trees outside of town without hurting yourself. How to tie knots in rope that won't come undone. How to tell what the weather will be like by how the sea moves near shore. The things you never got to learn, stuck inside walls of blood and stone. And over time, your days start to change. Your bones still hurt. The weight of memory doesn't go away. But the hours seem to last longer and be quieter. Not as much like a countdown. More like something you've worked for. Silvanus speaks one night while sharpening an old knife by candlelight. You were well known, he says. There is no question. A declaration. You agree. I heard you killed a lion. You nod again. He looks unhappy. Did it work? You look at him closely and see the question behind what he says. Did it help with the pain? Did it fill the empty space in your chest? Did it complete you? You say, no. After that, Silvanus doesn't say anything. He goes back to peeling potatoes without saying anything. You lie on your straw mat that night and look up at the rafters, thinking about all the people who told you to fight. Customers, crowds, Lannisters, and emperors. They wanted your blood, your victory, and your death. But no one ever asked what came next. What happens to a man whose only skill is staying alive? One morning, you see Silvanus sparring with another boy from the docks. They swing their arms around clumsily and laugh, enjoying the movement without fear. You look on from a distance. He sees you, smiles, and goes back to playing. At that point, you know he's starting to forget who you were in the arena. He doesn't see you as Aquila. You are just a man who showed him how to tie a knot and hold a knife. Like all legends, this one is fading. And for the first time in a long time, you let it go. The days are getting warmer, the smell of citrus and salt is thick in the air, and life, that rhythm you forgot about, starts to settle into you like old sunlight warming stone. You don't count the mornings anymore. You don't wake up anymore expecting chains or screams. You get up before the birds, stretch out your sore joints, wash your face with cold water, and slowly break your bread. You don't have any weapons. You don't look back as often. Silvanus is always close by. Sometimes he helps fishermen fix their nets, other times he climbs trees, and other times he just sits and watches the clouds as if they have stories only he can read. The widow who lives with you starts to talk to you more. Livia is her name. Her hands are always busy, kneading, stitching, scrubbing, and slicing, but when her eyes meet yours, they stay there. Not with want or pity, but with understanding. She can tell when someone is in pain. She has seen men come back from war with eyes like yours. At first, she stayed away because she didn't know what kind of violence was inside you. But even the sharpest edge dulls with time, and she sees now that your violence is no longer hungry, it's tired. And maybe, just maybe, it needs to take a break. You start to fix things around the house. Doors that won't open. A fence post that has rotted away. You carry firewood without being asked. You fix a broken pot with your hands and melted pitch. The tasks are small and easy to forget, but they keep you grounded. They make the hours that have no shape. You nod when Livia says thank you. You don't move when she touches your arm. And then, one day, you laugh. It takes you by surprise. A deep, rough sound you haven't made in years. Silvanus had tripped on a fishing net and fallen into a shallow tide pool, where he yelled and cursed so loudly that you couldn't help but hear him. You can't stop the laugh before it comes out. It's short, sharp, and rough like a shell that has been broken, but you know it's there. Silvanus stops moving and starts laughing too, but louder and more freely. The sound bounces off the rocks, wild and full of something you thought was dead. Later, while you watch the waves, you wonder if that laugh was the first brick in the wall you're finally putting up. Not a fortress wall, but a home wall. But the past doesn't just go away. One day, a ship comes into the harbor with foreign traders, soldiers, and two men who are dressed too well to be travelers. The insignia of the capital is on their robes. Their eyes move over the dock like hawks. You know what it looks like. People with too much curiosity and too many resources send officials, who may be spies. You blend into the shadows before they can see you. You find out later that night that they asked about you. Someone said there was a tall man with a limp and a face that looked like a storm cloud. The description is pretty close. You think about leaving, packing your bags, disappearing into the hills with Silvanus. But as you sit in the garden with Livia and watch her water the herbs, something settles in you. You don't want to run anymore. I'm sick of hiding. You have made something here, even if it's not very strong, and you won't leave it behind. After 3 days, the men leave. You don't know if they found what they were looking for or just got bored. But they don't come back. You keep on living. You wake up before dawn on the anniversary of your last fight, walk to the edge of a nearby cliff, and sit in silence as the sun rises. The sea below moves slowly, with waves folding into each other like secrets that have been told too many times. You close your eyes and think about the Colosseum, the people, the blood, the masks. After that, you let it go. Slowly, not all at once, and not perfectly, but you let go of your grip. That night, you don't go back to the arena in your dreams. Instead, you dream of an olive tree in an empty field, its branches reaching up to the sky and heavy with fruit. You are not below it. You're a part of it. Years go by quietly, like the tide changing the shore, slowly, without being seen, and for good. You get older, but you don't keep track of time with calendars or holidays anymore. You can see it in simpler ways, like how the lines in Livia's hands are getting deeper, how Silvanus can now easily carry buckets, how the boy's voice is changing, how his shoulders are getting wider, and how his posture is unconsciously mirroring yours. He becomes a young man right in front of your eyes. His early hunger is now tempered with thought and patience. He doesn't look at you with wide-eyed respect anymore. He asks questions instead. Questions that matter. Why didn't you run away when they let you go? He asks one morning as he fixes a broken oar. You sit next to him on the dock and eat a figure. You think about just saying, because there was nowhere to run, for a second. But instead, you tell him the truth. Because they were still chasing running. He nods and turns the oar in his hands, showing that he knows more than he says. He knows about the scars. He has heard the pauses in your speech. He knows you without having to ask for stories. But he does listen sometimes, not to hear about death or spectacle, but about survival. Did you ever think you were going to die in the arena? You remember a lot. But one stands out more than the others. A fight in the rain, when the sand turned to mud and every step was a risk. You fell. Your opponent had his sword up. You were certain it was over, but his foot slipped. The mud swallowed him whole, but not enough to stop the strike. You killed him the next second. The crowd cheered, but all you could hear was your own heartbeat, which was getting back into rhythm. That moment didn't change anything, and it made everything different. You say, yes. More than once. Did it scare you? Every time. He nods again, as if to make sure he understands. At that point, You know that Silvanus is not just learning how to live. He is trying to figure out how to deal with pain without letting it destroy him. He wants to be strong without becoming cold. He is not copying what you do. He is picking where to put his own. He tells you one day that he's leaving. He is now 17, maybe 18. He wants to go inland and make his own way. Not to run away. Don't forget. But to start. You feel the weight of his words like a knife sliding out of its sheath, sharp and unavoidable. You help him put things in his bag. You give him your old boots, which are worn but still strong. You give him a knife. It's not a gladius or a weapon of war. It's just a simple tool with a smooth handle and a sharp edge. He stops at the gate. Are you going to be okay? You smile with your eyes, like old warriors do when they finally stop expecting a refill. I've already lived longer than I should have. He gives you a hug. It's short, awkward, and firm. Then he leaves, walking down the dusty road with the same uneven gait you used to have, one that was made not by pain but by determination. You go back to your days. You fix the roof of the widow's house because it leaks. You carve new planks for the dock. The ocean keeps moving. The sun keeps coming up. One breath at a time, life keeps moving forward. You hear things in the market sometimes, like rumors that a young traveler is helping to fix a bridge that fell down in a mountain town. A boy who stood between a crowd and an old man who was shaking in a tavern. A storyteller who tells stories about olive trees, eagles, and men who learn to live without killing. You never ask me anything. You don't have to. You live long enough to get old. Your back bends. Your fingers get stiff. But your mind gets sharper. The dreams are different. The faces get nicer. And the silence, which used to be a prison, is now a friend. One morning, you walk to the edge of the sea, and the wind blows through your grey hair. You sit down on the stone you've sat on 100 times before, and for the first time, you don't think about Rome. Not of the sand, the blades, or the people. You can only think about the boy who took your lessons and put them in his bones, and the peace you earned, inch by inch, from a life that never wanted to give you peace. You shut your eyes. You take a breath. And you sleep. Years turn into decades. Your name, carved into the stone lips of thousands, fades like a whisper in the wind. New champions rise in the Colosseum, along with new slaves, new stories, and new tragedies that are told over and over again in front of a crowd that never changes. Rome still sings its song of blood and marble, not caring how much it costs. But you are still alive, far away from it all, on a quiet beach where olive trees sway in the wind and gulls cry over the waves. Not like a myth, not like a warrior, but as a person. Your arms and legs slow down, just like they do for all old men. Your hands used to be as steady as death itself, but now they shake when you tie knots or carve wood. Your breath gets shallower. You walk less distance. But this decline has a sense of honor, a hollowness in the everyday that you did know in the days of iron and fire. Pain becomes normal, but not mean. It comes like an old friend to remind you that you're still here. The village has changed, too. You used to watch kids grow up, and now they have their own kids on their hips. Livia's hair has turned silver, and her laughter, which used to be quick and sharp, is now slower, deeper, and full of memories. You eat together in silence and tell stories in bits and pieces. At dusk, she sometimes sits next to you with her hand lightly resting on your wrist as the sun sets. You two don't talk much anymore. You don't have to. A merchant passing through whispers a rumor to a caravan one spring. A young man named Silvanus has become well known in the north. Not as a soldier, not like a murderer, as a builder, a person who makes plans. He takes groups of villagers to fix broken aqueducts, rebuild settlements that have been burned down, and reroute trade routes that have been washed away by floods. He organizes without giving orders, teaches without being proud, defends without anger. The merchant says he heard that Aquila, a gladiator, raised Silvanus when he was a child, a shadow from the past of the arena. You smile, not out of pride, Not because of the past, but because the crustant, it made something spec, vetrina, it. Your legs start to give out that summer. It seems like the days go by faster now, and you fall asleep without warning, and your dreams get heavier. You stop walking toward the coast. Instead, they take you to the sea in a cedar and rope chair with legs carved by the carpenter you used to work with. Kids wave at you when they see you. Some people call you grandfather, even though you don't have any blood in their veins. They keep asking you the same stories over and over. Did you really kill the lion? Did you fight 5 men at the same time? Did you get away from the emperor's anger? You tell them that a boy was taken from his village once. A boy became a weapon. A boy who had to learn how to kill because he had no other choice. And then you say in a low voice that the boy's bravest act was not winning a fight. It was one to walk away from. They don't often get how heavy that is. But one day, they might. The sky is blue on the last morning of your life. The ocean is calm. You sit outside the widow's house, wrapped in linen, and the wind feels cool on your skin. From the village square, you can smell bread and see salt. Livia is sitting next to you, as quiet as ever. A bird lands close to your foot. You see it hop twice and then fly away, disappearing into the clouds. You don't feel scared. No regrets. You don't think about the Colosseum. You don't think about blood or blades. You think about Silvanus, of laughter in a tidal pool, of bread shared on the steps of stone, of a life that could have ended 100 times but didn't. You shut your eyes. You breathe out once, and you don't breathe in again. They bury you under the olive tree on the cliff, the same one you visited every year that never stopped growing. There isn't a statue. No statue. Your name, carved into a piece of driftwood with a steady hand. No one writes gladiator. No one writes killer. Only your name, and the dates that no one can remember. A season later, Silvanus comes back. He kneels in front of the grave and doesn't say anything. He stays for a long time. He gets up and walks back to the village after that. They treat him like one of their own. He doesn't stay for long. He has places to build things, fixing roads, but he leaves behind a story about a man who learned how to kill, and then learned how to live. Years go by like pages in a book that is no longer read. As the seasons change, so do the last people who knew you in person. 5 winters after you, Livia dies peacefully in her sleep. The house you fixed up, where your shadow stretched across the walls at dawn, has changed hands many times. Each new owner paints it and replaces things, not knowing that a quiet ghost once lived there. The olive tree by the cliff gets thicker. Its branches twist like knuckles, and its roots hold the soil like you use to hold your shield. A boy climbs it every summer to see ships come in on the sea. He never thinks about who is underneath. In Rome, the world you used to live in becomes a stage again. The new emperors bring back the old games, but they are better than ever. They make up new names, outfits, and stories. They tell stories about gladiators with silver blades and eagle crests who fought against emperors and beasts. It's all fake. Not the ones they carve into marble or the ones that are put on painted stages. Some say Aquila never lost. He either disappeared into the desert or became a legend. The truth is always quieter than a myth. But people remember you, not in the palaces of the rich or in the noise of the Colosseum, but in other places. Like how a child learns to tie a strong knot from a line of builders. In the curve of a road that was carefully built over land that is prone to flooding. A quiet hand on a shaking shoulder before a fight starts. In stories told around campfires about a man who once stopped killing and taught others how to do the same. Silvanus keeps building. He never goes back to the city. He never gets a title. He never puts his name on any stone. But the towns he helps remember what he looks like. The kids who grow up under his care learn how to solve problems without being scared. And one day, when he is much older and his hands start to shake like yours did, he carves a name into another piece of driftwood. Aquila. That's it. And below it, in smaller letters, He writes, "He showed me how to fight. Then he showed me how to stop." And that's how you last, not through statues, coins, or grand stories, but through the choices you make, by way of people, through the long, invisible line that connects one life to the next. The eagle doesn't fly anymore, but it never really falls. It becomes part of the air. The world changes in ways you never could have imagined over the next few hundred years. Empires come and go, their flags are torn down and replaced, and their statues are turned into new gods. The Colosseum, which used to be a symbol of suffering and power, is falling apart. Ivy takes over its walls. Birds build their nests in the highest parts of it. People in tunics and sandals give way to people with cameras and sunglasses, all of whom are amazed by the size but never hear the screams that are buried in the stone. A dusty scroll is found in a university archive. Its seal has been broken and its ink has faded. A freedom grant that hasn't been signed. The name is hard to read, and the scholars argue about where it came from. Some people argue that Aquila never existed and was just a made-up character, a mix of 1,000 fighters and a symbol of the contradictions in Rome. They write papers, fight over footnotes, and give boring lectures to students. But none of them know what it's like to hold iron in your hand. They had never smelled blood on sand that had been in the sun. None of them ever stabbed a friend with their sword to stay alive for one more day of the crowd's hunger. There is still a crooked olive tree on a cliff in a quiet village that has grown into a small coastal town. It leans more now than it used to, but its roots are still strong. Kids always climb it. People sit quietly under it. One day, a young man digs up a piece of wood that was buried under the tree's roots. Worn out, almost impossible to read. But he knows the name, Aquila. Years ago, before memory faded, his grandfather talked about him. He takes the wood to a museum in the area, where it is put behind glass next to old fishing tools and broken amphorae. The name is not explained on the plaque. There is no caption that tells the story. But sometimes, someone stops in front of the glass and looks at it for a little longer. Not because they know, but because they can feel something in the wood grain that is older than the village and deeper than the name. A feeling that someone once stood at the end of the world and then walked back. That's how you keep living. Not as a fighter, not as a murderer, but as a quiet truth that lies beneath the noise of history. Somewhere, a young person will pick up a knife for the first time, not to fight, but to carve. They'll sit under a tree and carve wood into something useful. A tool. A place to stay. A name. They'll feel a hand-shaped weight on their hand, but they won't know why. Not pushing. Just a reminder. That living isn't enough. That life is meant to be lived. And that even the most violent stories can end in peace.